Well, good morning and welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with Mr. G. It is Tuesday, June 2nd, the feast day of Saint Blandina and the Martyrs of Lyons, France. She was martyred by Roman officials by being scourged, placed on a red hot grate, enclosed in a net, and thrown before a wild steer who tossed her into the air with his horns. Then eventually she was killed with a dagger. Can you imagine if that happened today? She is the patron saint of those falsely accused of cannibalism, which is interesting. I never really understood that whenever I researched her. And then also the patron saint of servant girls and torture victims, which that makes sense. Anyway, today's gospel is from Mark chapter 12, verses 13 through 17. Let's begin in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. They sent some Pharisees and Herodians to him to ensnare him in his speech. They came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are a truthful man and that you are not concerned with anyone's opinion. You do not regard a person's status, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it lawful to pay the census tax to Caesar or not? Should we pay or should we not pay?" Knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why are you testing me? Bring me a denarius to look at." They brought one to him, and he said to them, "Whose image and inscription is this?" They replied to him, "Caesar's." So Jesus said to them, "Repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." They were utterly amazed at him. Okay, so Jesus talks about paying taxes today. All right, now, Jesus has gained the trust of the Pharisees of who he's speaking with, and they know that he's going to speak the truth no matter what. And that Jesus absolutely does not care about the opinion of others whatsoever, because he follows the commandments. He follows God's law. So they test him, concerning taxes, paying taxes to Caesar and the government and stuff like that. And the intention of the Pharisees is to force Jesus to take a side, contrary to the opinion of the majority of people, or being in conflict with the Roman authorities. So they're trying to cause division through their question and by testing Jesus. But Jesus doesn't bite. He doesn't fall for either one of them. As you know, he just says in his response, "Whose image is on there?" So if you did not know, I actually wrote down and did some research. We've got on the penny, we've got Abraham Lincoln. I don't have a nickel, but Thomas Jefferson is on a nickel. And he's also on a $2 bill. And Abraham Lincoln's on a $5 bill. And then we've got a dime, which is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then on a quarter, we've got George Washington, and George Washington is always on the dollar bill. And then on the $10 bill is Alexander Hamilton. The $20 bill is Andrew Jackson. And then, of course, we know that the Benjamins on the $100 bill is Ben Franklin. Oh, I skipped the $50 bill. That's you, Ulysses S. Grant. But anyway, all those images are humans for the U.S. government, right? Past presidents, other leadership roles, people in the U.S. that we quote-unquote admire. But those taxes and all of our money, it goes, to the government. But Jesus isn't concerned about that. And he's wondering why we are concerned about that. So we should be, and Jesus says we should be, repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God. We should be worried about what the law of God says and not so much the law of man. Because we know human laws, some are good, some are bad. Like traffic laws are great. And a lot of other laws are great. But of course, the law on law on abortion, how that's not great. It doesn't follow the law of God. So you take laws from humans with a grain of salt. But that's why if you follow God's law, we should be fine. So In fact, it's interesting. Never mind. I won't get into that. It's a different topic. But anyway, the challenge. Let's just go straight to the challenge relative to this scripture. Can you imagine how much better the world would be if everybody followed the 10 Commandments? And also the greatest commandment of loving the Lord our God with all of our heart, all of our mind, and all of our soul, and loving your neighbor as yourself. How much of a better world would we live in? So the challenge today is to ask yourself, what can I do personally in my life to put God's law into action for the sake of others, to make the world a better place than what it is and what it ever will be? But we got to have hope. So there is the gospel from Mark this morning. Have a great day, and God bless. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.